Well, 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 well. Time to get back to translation. If with a little bit of luck, we'll finish off Anna today, and I'll feel good about myself. Whee! Image even build. Is that a word? Because that sounds like a word, and it's a very pretentious. Yeah! Ooh, that's such a nice pretentious word. Saying you're made in God's image. This says it's very hard to say, but it's not a word you like. It's one of those words that sounds posh and fancy because it's a word no one ever uses. You just say something looks like something. You don't say you're made in something's image, but it feels a bit harsher, you know? Because you always hear God's image. You hear that more often than this. But it carries the same connotation. Although, that being said, shouldn't you say, we didn't, also, it's not a punishment, also, it's actually pretty cool. Like, although that might be a little too much, and then anyone who wants to say that, it's like, I feel like a dick now. That's a good question, though. The thing about this is, it's kind of pointed out that they can't handle stairs. Humans can handle stairs. Humans can climb up trees. Humans can climb up mountains. Even a fucking runner can climb up a mountain. A flyer can, but he can't carry a load with him. Flyers are extremely limited. Like, you'll be surprised how fast you run. Like, I mentioned this before, but you run out of, like, in Dungeons and Dragons, you can carry, in order to fly, you can carry up to a light load, which makes sense. A light load is not much. And if you're a flyer, you're probably going to rely on agility more than strength to begin with, so you're not going to have much. There's a reason that most flying things can't carry much. They're like, I don't know. Humans just have mobility, and Anna doesn't seem to understand that. Humans can probably turn a corner a lot better than most other dragons. Because when you're perfectly bipedal, you can turn on a dime. Bryce could not turn a corner if someone shot him in the face if he stepped 1 foot too far. That's how horses work. They go fast, but only in straights. A human can swerve like a wave. I don't think runners can. They could, but they'd probably lose. Actually, with their tail, they'd probably be very good at swerving. They'd still have trouble making turns, but they could stabilize. They could make sharp swerves. Like, they can't bend enough to do that. And not to mention the fact that if you start sharp swerving and you have that type of build, you're just going to fly all over the place. Like, there's a lot involved with that kind of stuff. There's a benefit to standing upright like a person. And Draconians seem to have legs that just don't walk very well. So humans are technically better in that regard. So it's kind of weird. It's weird. It's also kind of interesting that runners are apparently best at a significant portion of things, and yet they still have the rest. Like, if there's one that's just more practical, they're more likely to get jobs, they're more likely to survive. Like, it's cultural evolution. It doesn't happen in human society because humans aren't that much different, but look at sports and see how many, basketball, there's something going on there. At least that's what I think. I don't really watch sports, so I don't have any scientific research to go by, but it's a stereotype. Now imagine that was worse. Imagine that Asians were just better. They were just 90% of the time, Asians are better at math. Just no argument. It's not nature. It's pure nature. It's not nurture. It's pure nature. You bet your fucking ass that once only mathematical jobs remain, the Asians are the only ones that are going to stay behind. Because that's how it works. That's cultural evolution. You can't stop it. You can force to stop it, but that's a stupid idea, and you get nothing out of it. And no capitalist system is going to allow you to do that. Because it's stupid. It's one of the reasons I'm against quotas. Hire the person most suited for the job. Don't hire the person because someone told you to. Now, I'm not saying that because of social evolution and cultural evolution. No, that I'd be an asshole if it was that reason. But it's more like you're not really solving a problem with quotas, Because most people aren't going to be like, I hate black people. Oh, a black person's working here. I guess I'm fine with them. That's not how that works. People don't form relationships at work because they have to. Like, I understand what you're trying to fix, but there are better ways to fix it. I don't know which, but I can tell you it's not a great way to fix it. Because that just makes people angry. It's like, I am perfectly qualified for this job, but this fucking stupid asshole got my job instead. I hate them more now. That's the kind of thing you're fostering. And that guy is going to be like, I don't deserve this job, but I can't leave either. I feel so stupid now. Like, you're not helping anyone. You're just filling out numbers. It looks good on paper, but when you think about it, one person feels unappreciated for all the hard work he put in, and the other feels like he's just a dummy. Like he's just a token. He doesn't feel good about it. He's like, God damn. I could have a job where I could feel good about myself, but instead I'm just filling space. I remember seeing that once in a show, and it really just captured that. Like, everyone else was like, fuck that guy. He got that job because of who he is. And he was like, man, I don't feel like I'm being appreciated here. I'm not doing any work. Like, I'm just an appendage. I'm an appendix. And I really liked that episode because it just captures the problem with quotas. And that's what this is happening here. Like, think about this. They have carts. Once you have carts, okay, fine, there's probably a place for Earth Dragons. But where about True Dragons? True Dragons have no advantages. What do they have? They have less carrying capacity because they are bigger and need to compensate more. Flyers can carry better. Or you got something like Lorm, which, I don't know what he has. He's good at dropping bombs, maybe? But yeah, True Dragons have no major advantage. Bryce is just better if you need to carry a load. Like, there's very limited use to flying. Flying is a surprisingly useless skill when you think about it. It's fun, but you can't do much with it. You can go someplace quickly, but it turns out usually you want to bring a lot in one go. You want to make less trips, not more. You know, it's like the True Dragon's got to get the shaft under the stick in terms of practicality. Like, at least Draconians can reach high shelves, is something they can do. Like, they still got some mobility to them. They're not great, but they're still good enough. They can 10 bars very nicely without sticking out all over the place, you know? I have a slight problem with this. Zhang is not a runner, and he bartends. So that argument it's kind of dumb. Because I think you're forced to meet Zhang, although you don't know he's a bartender. But if you do, that text should have changed. Yeah, it's manager with an ah. Also, the fact that she says proper hands, like, I know what she means, but Draconians technically have proper... Although, here's the thing. The artwork sometimes depicts them as having proper hands, as in hands with claws, and sometimes with fingers and little claws at the end. Sometimes... the inconsistencies kind of ruin this argument. Since it's very hard... Let's pull out the fucking Anna picture, because it's kind of relevant right now. RPA tool, character graphics... Anna, where is your big dumb ass? There it is, campfire. Like here, she clearly has claws that are tipping fingers. But if we pull out her character artwork, and we pull out Anna, she has much more claw fingers. So you kind of get some artistic inconsistencies that kind of make this argument hard to stick with. There's another thing. Her arms are probably garbage. The way those arms work is, A, they're short compared to her body. She can't reach a lot of her body. And secondly, they probably don't move around much. Look at how much reach you have. You can reach behind you. You can reach all the way up and all the way down, all the way to the front. Ooh, and you can even reach quite far behind you if you use your back. You can grab the back of your neck and go, bleep. She probably can't do that. It's not useful, but like flying, it's better than nothing. And again, which kind of, like, the argument she's trying to make is they're better, which makes sense. They are genetically engineered to be quite good, which means that naturally they'd actually just be generically better. If that's true, it means humanity is going to phase out. There's nothing they can do about it. They're not genetically compatible, so they can't sneak into the gene pool. They're gonna get zoned out. Like, once the game ends, humanity's fucked either way. Like, the dragons are going to make them obsolete because they're just better. I mean, sure, the Earth dragons are going to... Like, first to phase out, it's just got to be the true dragons. They've got nothing. The Winged Draconians, too. They got nothing. Then the flyers, because you don't need to fly. There are better ways to fly. I don't know how powerful an electromotor can get, but if those generators are indefinite and you build some good batteries, whoop-de-fucking-do, you can just fuck off. Not to mention they got hover devices, and again, flight's not as good as you think it is. And there's probably a lot of infrastructure. There's probably a transatlantic tunnel or something they've got, like a hyperloop or something. Then to go with the Earth Dragons, we don't need manual labor as much as we used to, which means that the big heavy luggers are just not as useful anymore. And yeah, the runners are probably the ones to remain, because that's what you need in modern society. You don't have to be strong, you just need the smarts and the hands to do it. Which is interesting, because apparently there's a blind guy following the IT education right now, which I gotta say, holy hell, how the heck are you doing that? How does a blind person work a computer? I don't know, but apparently he's going to program, which is very impressive. I say kudos to that man. The irony, of course, being that I'm probably going to get hired on a quota. But on the plus side, I'm someone who got hired because of the quota, and because I'm good at my job. It's a double whammy. You don't have to hire someone just for the shake of it. You can actually use them. Ain't that just great? You see, that's what quotas would be good for, but that's not what quotas do. But it's introduced them to... That's not how I introduce someone to a workforce. Just give them... If you give them education benefits, they're more likely to sink into the workforce because they're educated and know what the fuck they're doing. And get rid of nepotism. Kick that out the fucking window. Like, that's more likely to stop them than a quota. You know? Like, things are never as simple as if you just hire them, they're going to stay hired. Because eventually, that guy's useless. He doesn't know what's needed. But that new guy, you can hire him for a lower wage, and he knows all the new shit, because he went to school recently. You know, that kind of stuff. Like, that's an angle you need to remember. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think a runner could do anything but exactly what's in front of them. Like, at most, I'd say they have like a 45-degree angle off to the sides. Less, maybe, that they could actually move their arms in. And they also have really little reach. They have to walk. They'd have to shift their bodies. They cannot twist on their hips. Humans can twist on their hips, which is a surprisingly rare ability to do. Not every animal can do that, especially not runners. They don't have the spine for it. They have to twist all of that, the tail end and the head end, and that's a lot of lack of mobility. Like, and then there's the movement of the tail, there's the hunching over part. Humans might win if it's purely going to come down to dexterity, because they're just better. They're more refined. Fingernails are better than claws. In some respects. I guess the claws do have a benefit when it comes to piercing things, but we have knives, which are better than claws, because they're made out of steel instead of keratin. And you can buy a new knife, you can't buy a new claw. Gotta wait for that puppy to grow back. The thing is, you don't really... Like, more agile is so weird to say. Also, mobility implies movement. I guess it doesn't... God damn it, when I say it, it sounds stupid. But you know what I mean. The thing that Anna mentions here, and I don't like this. Anna says, we overcame that. Anna, humans overcame their physical limitations. Super hard. Humans invented power armor. We have that shit right now. We have power armor. We can make people with shit legs walk. You effectively have to compensate for all of your physical shortcomings. Humans, only a couple. We invent fine machinery, which we can use quite well. We can make them better than surgeons. You probably wouldn't even go there because you don't have the... Here's the thing. How are you going to invent a surgery machine if you can't experiment with surgery to begin with? And you don't know what you need? And, like, there's a lot more iterations because you don't have the basics. And they don't have the basics because I can't imagine dragons doing surgery. There's just a lack of mobility and refinement. And the head. How do they look down at what they're doing in the first place? Like, they need to compensate for everything to get it to work. And she's like, oh, well, we overcame our limitations. Yes, because you had to overcome them in the first place. No one's going to buy you a fucking special chair, Anna, when they can just hire the bum down the street to do it. That's another problem. And this goes more into disability, but disability quotas have that problem. Like, you need to subsidize those special editions, and if that person can then do the job as good as anyone else, great. Because then the compensations in the initial purchase, whoop, they're gone. Which doesn't work as well for, like, racial quotas, but racial quotas are just such an American thing, I've noticed. I've never seen one around here, or heard of it, because it's just such a stupid idea. Let's hire that person because he's a certain color. Does it inhibit his ability to work? No. Then why does he need a quota? That guy can't work very well, but we prefer he not be on welfare. You know? Like, he's got a good brain. You just need to buy him a special keyboard. Here's some money to buy that. Now you can hire this fucker and you can go off welfare. Great. You know, that's... like... The quota implies that being black, to me, is a disability, because we have quotas here for disabilities. So when I see a racial quota, I'm like, you're meaning that being black is literally a disability. It's literally a problem. Being black is inferior because there's a quota for it. Think about that for a moment. Think about, like, that goes back to what I said, is it gives the implication that that person is not supposed to be there, but we force them to. And just, the social connotations are terrible. The implications are awful. And no one thinks about them, because it just looks so nice. Look at all these people we got to work. They're not doing jack shit. They don't get paid much, and they're probably never going to get promoted because they're not actually working, but we got people in there, and that's nice. In the meantime, that kid in the wheelchair that we gave the special keyboard has just gotten promoted and is leading his own team division, because it turns out it's really good at it, and everyone likes him because he's involved, and he's actually doing work. Ain't that just fucking special? Now, I'm not saying that's not going to be the same. Like, there's going to be people who are just hired for the fucking quota and are put in a corner, like, go sit in the janitor's closet wheelchair, man. We don't want you around here. Like, that's possible. But they're going to look for people that are good. They're going to go to the colleges and see, like, because here's the thing. That blind guy, he's going to fucking kick ass. He's going to do his best. Because if you're blind and you want to work in a very visual medium, like programming, you're going to bust your ass. You're going to do the best you can. So when someone who's like scouting, or you apply to a business, and they're like, wait, you can't see, but you've studied programming, and you passed. Holy shit, you must be kicking ass out there. You must have really given it 120%. I want you. Because that guy, he did so much work to get there. He deserves it. You know he's hard work. You know he's going to be there every single fucking day. And you know you can put him on night shift, and he wouldn't even notice. He would be like, oh, it's 5 a.m. I didn't notice. I can't see the clock. The funny part is, the funny thing is about that, actually going to be teaching old people soon, but there's a guy there who's like also wants to teach old people, and he's like in a wheelchair, and he's pretty disabled, and he's just fucking taking everything with stride. Like, that guy you want, because that guy's going to raise the spirits, you know? Like, once you've had some setbacks, you can start to appreciate things, and I've noticed that. Once things go too smoothly for me, I start not appreciating things anymore, and I start just being stupid. It's important. You got to kick yourself down sometimes, just to remember. The things aren't as always as they seem, you know? There's problems in the world. I like how you say that humanity's invented the generators and literally everything dragons have, and once that comes out, dragons are going to be like, well, fuck. Guess we're just kind of fuck-ups, are we? Because don't forget, I don't think dragons would have technologically evolved as well as humans had, considering they have to compensate for everything. And, you know, since it's not... like, here's the thing. Any human is like any other human. Disabilities aside, I, as much as anyone else, can do the same thing. We can invent. We can use tools and do things. Dragons would phase out certain races because they're fucking worthless. And if that don't, then they end up with a large portion of the population consuming food but not innovating. They lose innovators. And so over time, they don't have people that innovate because they can't use the tools, or they can't, you know, like, sure, you have multiple perspectives, but that only goes so far. And the best proof of that is the fact that the majority of innovators for a very long period of time have been... that's kind of racist to say, actually. But it does come down to the same idea. Like, it's never the fucking guy with the third arm who invents things, because the odds are just not in his favor. But I know what I wanted to say. I know what I wanted to get down to is, runners can prototype. If you're a flyer, good luck making a prototype of what you're trying to design and develop. You're not going to do that. You need someone else to do that. You have to find someone who wants to do that. You're going to have to pay. It raises the barrier for entry. So your innovation's going to be less. So without this jumpstart Izumi gave them, dragons were kind of fucked. Like, they wouldn't have gotten this far. And if they would have... Like, here's the thing. I don't think they survive in space. In order to move in a spacecraft, you need monkey features, because a spacecraft is very similar to a jungle. There's three-dimensional movement. You gotta hang on to things, you gotta push off things. Dragons couldn't do that. They could not go to space. None of them could. Even draconians lack the maneuverability and mobility to work in space, and tails would be a huge problem. Like, in the end, you couldn't drag a dragon to space without artificial gravity. And even then, they're going to have to go outside. And they can't fit in a spacesuit very well. That tail is a huge obstruction. So when you think about it, dragons are kind of fucked. Like, she's like, oh, I'm so much better. You're not. When you really think about it, Anna, you kind of suck. Like, you're on the brink of being good enough, but you're not. Maybe your brain is good, but like I said, someone's going to have to subsidize the fact that you suck at typing at a keyboard compared to someone else. Especially if, like, it depends. Which is canon? Because... which is canon? The claw hands or the claw fingers? If the clawed hands with the claw tips is canon, it's not too bad. But if it's the other one and your whole fingers are claws, you're boned. There's no way anyone's going to hire you. And then they're going to have dragon quotas, and everyone's going to be like, really? I don't want to hire a flyer for this. He's just going to make a mess with a mop. Like, it's kind of cute that a dean does deliveries and works in the cafe. That makes sense, because you want to hire less people, and it's like, okay, flyers are good for deliveries, but you can also carry things well enough. Like, with a dean, you get 2 for 1. That's kind of the point as to why she works in the cafe, and I can say, okay, that's believable, because you can hire 2 for 1. You can hire a person that can both fly, and a person that can do internal deliveries, and she does the same thing, and she's pretty fast. No, you get the benefits of both. I need to stop saying this. I need to just stop working. But it's so hard to look at Anna's impurity and be like, Oh, when we catch up. Well... as I just said, humans are just better at innovating, because dragons are very conservative and traditionalist. They don't want to go forward. There is a very clear idea that dragons haven't been doing much in terms of innovation and development. You're going to need humans just to keep going. And humans are better at the whole thing, so what's your advantage again, Anna? You're literally designed not to invent things or question things. Your curiosity is minimal, or you would have found the portal and everything sooner. Here's the thing. If humans were there, they would have found that portal real fast. Like, once they had metal detectors, someone would have come over there with a metal detector, and there'd be dinosaurs like, oh, I'm metal detecting in the middle of nowhere. Oh, man, I found something. Dragons don't do that. Like, the whole discovery sounds like it was a complete random accident. Like someone just wanted to build a house there. Because there's a huge city. You think they would have found it by now. Like, I know we don't find things, but this isn't a stone cave or a small monument. This is a giant block of steel. And another block of steel. And there's someone who lives there, who's been doing shit around there. You think you would have found them. Or some... There's a question, by the way. Azumi claims that she goes into the portal and then comes out the portal. Meaning she unearthed it. To some extent. Like, she must have had some sort of tunnel. And what if a wild dragon had found it? But there's like a lot of questions, and very few answers to some pretty important questions that need to be answered. Was it excavated before or after Azumi arrived, for example? And how was she not seen? Like, again, like, Anna really, like, she doesn't understand. Like, the thing is, Anna is so absorbed in her own arrogance that it's understandable that she would think like this. But she doesn't have a reason to. If she actually thought about it, she would realize, oh, wait, I don't really have any, I have some things. But it turns out you really don't need to be able to spit fire and kill things with claws. I mean, a scalpel is more accurate, I guess. And you also can sharpen them. I guess I'm not as good as I thought it was. Do you know what can also cut through steel? A jet of water. That's pretty cool, by the way. You fucking high-pressure jet of water. That's pretty... It's just awesome, man. It's awesome. And it's a clean cut. It's such a clean cut. How does water do that? Is water really diamonds? There's a question. Like, the thing is, Anna is kind of implied to be sort of an oddball, because the amount of pushing she does to innovate and design something new is unusual. Because, again, a cure for cancer is a pretty important thing, and dragons are just like, no. Genetic research, no. We could probably get some cool things, no. Like, there's a lot of counter-pressure to these things. Like, even Emira trying to push for Earth Dragons in a quota, it should tell you enough that they might have even if they have the abilities, their minds will not allow them. Human creativity and collective learning is miles ahead of you, evolutionarily speaking. Fun fact, collective learning is weird in evolutionary sense. It's kind of weird as a concept. The ability to transfer information to a next generation, and the next generation says, I'm going to take this knowledge and make it better. That's such a weird thing. How do you get that? How does that evolve? And just how awesome is it when you're like, hey, I took this thing Dad had, and I made it better. I'm going to call it Sungrade. How about Upgrade? No, if I call it Upgrade, my dad will never shut up. Ow. Here's the thing. The technology Izumi gives them would perfectly allow them to construct power armor and mechanical appendages that would allow species to do things. Like, if they really had that kind of tech that Anna claims they have, why doesn't Bryce have, like, mechanical arms or something? Because we're there, and, like, again, their technology is very awkward and weird, and, like, how much did Izumi give them? Because they could not have the generators without Izumi. Did Izumi only give them the generators? Because if she did, it's just so many problems. Like, here's the thing. If they never talked about this, if this conversation did not come up, I wouldn't complain because it's not a point that the game thinks it needs to address. But it addresses so many points that are so poorly done that it just makes things worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Don't shine a spotlight on a pimple. We're just going to see the pimple and be like, that's an ugly pimple. And then it's like, yeah, it's an ugly pimple, ain't it? It's really ugly. But if you think about it, it's not that. And God damn it, that doesn't make the pimple any better. It just makes it uglier because now I can see the wart that's on the pimple. How do you get a wart in a pimple? Who knows? Who knows? Could be video games, to all we know. Also, we never see any of the technology that supposedly helped them overcome their individual limitations. So what the fuck are you even talking about, Anna? You mean a specialized screwdriver? They can't even use a screwdriver. Think about this. None of the dragons could effectively use a screwdriver. You want to know why? Because even with her proper hands, I doubt Anna has that kind of twisting maneuver. Humans could screw faster than her. She probably couldn't, especially even with claws. Those claws get in the way of exactly what you need to do. And although probably they'd have one of those little spinny things. She could probably do those weird spinny things they use to make holes in things. Those things are great. I love them. They're so awesome. You go whoop, 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 whoop with a little winch. They're cool, like a spit roast. That is effectively what I'm talking about. She probably couldn't use that too well. And spinning motions are rather important. Although they probably just make power drills. But in order to make power drills, you first need to develop screws, you know? Like, you're not going to make a power drill unless you know what screws are, and you need to make screws because that's a good way to do it, or else you just stick to swallowtail all the way through. I learned how this called... Oh, no, you call it dovetail. I call it swallowtail because we call it that, but you call it dovetails. You know the wood grain, or wood pattern where you can slide things together and they don't pull apart? It's like, what the hell? What kind of magic is that? Also, our technology might be more advanced, but it's also completely broke. Human technology is currently either deep fried or just out of power. Like, there's another thing. Like the moment Anna starts acting cocky, a lot of humans are going to be like, yeah, we're going to have to nip this in the butt. I mean, you're good for population, but we'll just be taking these generators, and you can go over there in the nuclear wasteland somewhere. You know. And then humans pull out their guns, and Anna tries to shoot one, and then she's like, fuck, my arm exploded. Because, fun fact, recoil you take by twisting. You cannot absorb recoil with... Like, any of them could not absorb recoil. Their bodies aren't made for it. They couldn't use guns. Isn't that just hilarious? So once someone pulls out a big caliber sniper rifle and blows their skulls open, and they're like, fuck, we're gonna have to invent new guns... Guess what? You cannot make new guns to overcome existing guns and win. That kind of innovation doesn't exist in Dragonkind, so they're on such bad terms. Like, every single time I think about how that war would play out, I realize two things. It depends on, A, if humans have an arsenal. If they have an arsenal, Dragonkind loses. It doesn't matter if they use guerrilla tactics, because, you know, humanity can just blow up the city and go away with some generators. Power up a car and just fucking leave. Like, they can nuke the city and not care. They've got other cities out there, and they know where they are. What do dragons got? They're in unfamiliar terrain, unfamiliar ground. They don't know the weapons. They don't know the techniques. They probably don't even know how like the booby trap. That caught them off guard. Like, they don't know how that works or what that is. Like, fuck. You're at a huge disadvantage here. Humans have worked with traps for years. Ambushing is their tactics. We might be kobolds, but we're kobolds with a lot of traps and a lot of guns. And once you give a kobold a gun, you're fucked. We're also not as cowardly as kobolds, which probably would help a lot. Kobolds are cute, though. Give them a smooch. They're sassy, little snarky boys. Give them a smooch. Preferably after the bath. They probably smell. Yeah, this implies that, wait, it's only been a few days and you've already extracted a lot of information? What? Also, why did humanity give them all of the information? Like, I know you're desperate, but you're not going to give an enemy all your information. Like, consider this. You went in with the idea they might be hostile, and you're just going to give them all of the information. If Russia turned out to be lizard people, America isn't going to go to Russia saying, we want your nuclear generators, and then they offer Russia literally all of the... you're not going to give them the nuclear codes. Like, what kind of stupid idea is that? Man, this game is fucking stupid. Wah, wah. The army, of course, being the Dragonkind, does kind of get the jump start because they go to Earthworld, where everything is made for humans. If they did overcome their technological limitations, they're going to have to rebuild all of that shit. And Earth is made for humans. The doors, the chairs, the houses, the cars, the medical equipment. You're fucked. Good luck. Again, unfamiliar grounds, unadapted terrain. A lot of places only humans could really fit. Like, maybe... like fucking little guys. You just put a knife in him. Lorm just dies when someone throws him. Like, what are they going to do? They're not even kobold level so tough. Not to mention, dragons don't seem to have an organized military of any sorts. If they did, they'd probably have initiated curfew and had a military... Like, the serial killings and the ambassador, if they had an army, they would have deployed it by now. That's what I'm trying to say. If you have an alien, and that alien goes frickin' missing, but that alien looks a lot like Jesus too. He shows up and he's gone, and serial killings start happening, and the alien's perspective to be the killer. You bet your fucking ass the military is going to roll into town and start asking questions and taking names. But they don't have any. They also don't seem to have foreign affairs. Because if they had it, as I mentioned, foreign affairs would be here, and doing this. Implying a lot about dragon culture at large. Also, they're not that spread out. Because again, dragons don't give a shit. They're not curious. They don't explore. Dragons are going to sit in whatever Earth town is adjacent to that portal, and they'll be fine. They'll be like, I guess I'm fine here. I might go on a vacation, but I'm not going to move there. Because they're not made to do that. They're not humans. They're not curious. They're not daredevils. They don't do stupid shit for the sake of it, which is how many things were invented, by the way. Disadvantage. Like, I like to imagine that Izumi went away for thousands of years, and dragons are just that slow with inventions. Like, she left them as tribal, and when she came back they were modern, but it took them just thousands of years to overcome their unwillingness to invent anything. Their Renaissance took generations. Did the Renaissance take generations? I think it took at least one or two? Maybe multiple. I don't know. I don't even know how long the Renaissance is now that I think about it. I kind of lost track of that stuff. I mean, I like history, but it was in the time when I didn't care, so I forgot all about it. Let's look it up. When was Renaissance, the Enlightenment? Ba 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 ba. Ooh, wow. The mid-decades. Ooh, oh, goddamn. I don't want to see this. I just want to see this. Ah. So from 1650 to 17. Yeah, that's a couple of generations, depending on how you want to put it. Oh. Wow. Oh, so people aren't even sure which one of it is. Was it 1650? Or I can't know anymore. Nobody know. Management buyouts. Really? That's a fucking that's a full word? Wow. An MBO, which is also an education. I just have to keep working. Like, I'm starting to reach the point where this script is just starting to piss me off. Yeah, because even dragons are like humans are different. But back to the dating aspect, Anna does kind of want you to be a sat sack, which tells you a lot. I want to dick her. I've lost my respect for Anna because she's not that much better than Maverick, really. Just in different ways. I guess they were made for each other. If only they weren't working men and women. Here's a question. What do you mean with that? None of those animals you're talking about, human person, have guns or cars. Have you seen a shark with a car? I haven't. I can kill a shark, I can kill an elephant, and I can kill, let's say, a tiger on the same freaking day with no risk to my own life. I would love to see a mackerel pull that one off. Or a platypus. Oh, Mr. Platypus, with your electromagnetic sensitivity, can you solve this Rubik's Cube? Oh, no, you can't. How sad. Mr. Platypus, could you read this manual on how to turn on my computer? Oh, you can't. How sad. I'm just saying. It all depends on perspective. If you want to run fast, being a horse is great. If you want to swim underwater, being a fish is great. If you want to eat a shit ton of krill, being a whale, not a bad option. But if you want to enjoy sitting down on a couch under a nice warm blanket with a nice hot cup of cocoa in one hand and your Netflix on the other, congratulations. Humans are one of the best races to do it. And monkeys, probably. But they're also kind of like humans. If we're going to go, depends on how broad of a category we're going to go. And if you want to sit near a very pitch black geyser in the middle of nowhere, soaking up sulfur, congratulations. There's a place for you at the bottom of the ocean. Man, I do love this geyser. So nice and quiet. What is that? It's a submarine. God damn it, I told you not to come back here. It's amazing that in the bottom of the coldest, wettest place in the world, there's just something sitting near a giant geyser. It's just like, I guess this is a place I can love. How did life even get there? Like, what life evolved and just went down there and said, okay, I'm going to sit down here. This is a nice place to live. Except, of course, the humans are daredevils and fucking stupid. Extremely resilient when you think about it. I mean, we survived the Black fucking Plague. And then more. Like, humans pull through. They're like rats and cockroaches. Dinosaurs, they kind of died out. They had to invent something new. They had to invent birds. But what are birds? We just don't know. Are they dinosaurs? Or are they dragons in disguise? Who knows? And, of course, there's the fact that humans made dragons. And, admittedly, the concept of transhumanism or the idea of humanity inventing a better human, that's fine. But you're not that. We could do better. If we really wanted to make better humans, there's a better way to do it, and it's not you. Not to mention, apparently people had nano implants and cyborg arms. I'm pretty sure we got the advantage here. Like, could a dragon even properly use them? I mean, their balance is like... Human balance is great. We stand straight up, that's fine. We can do whatever we want, and there's no major risk. But a dragon has to consider the weight of the things he's putting on because he has to balance back and front. Like all of them do. So all of those dragons, they have to consider the appendages they're going to attach to themselves, so the implants they take, because their weight just shifts drastically. This has been your news broadcast as to why Anna is not getting robo-killer arms. Sorry about that. Not to mention the fact breath weapons are significant. Like, here's the thing, and I come back to this again. You can make a lot of ammo and shoot a gun a lot of times, but your breath weapon's going to run out, and you're going to feel like shit. Although shooting a gun is hard. Shooting a dragon is not hard, though. Like, if you're shooting something with ravaging claws, it's easy to kill them. Humans are a little harder. Like, they're squishy and soft, and you're like, God damn it, I'm so much stronger than this thing, and then... Ha ha! You had pity on me, but I was a murderer all along. We're not at war. You're just your neighbor. That's why he never saw it coming. And then the cops show up, and they're like, I did not see it coming. Guess he's to blame, isn't he? Should have seen it coming. Why does Anna grill her meat anyway? Like, this is such a thing that gets me. I guess it's just for the picture, but it doesn't make sense. Because if she grills her meat or enjoys her meat grilled, why doesn't she just buy meat instead of going out? The benefits are just kind of weird. Probably because she doesn't have time to do groceries. Maybe she doesn't have time for that. What kind of job doesn't let you take off just to get some groceries? Ugh. I like how immediately after this she just shoots some fire. Just like, oh, you didn't know. I think she's the only person that does that anyway. Isn't that like the only person who ever uses her breath attack? She's also the only person to bring it up. No, Lauren brings it up in his interview. The mouflon. It sounds so fancy French with that OU. Also, napalm is shit for cooking. Like, the actual ingredients are not that good for cooking. Napalm cooked food, I don't think it's actually poisonous to eat that shit. Same with carbon. Like, you generally... There's a reason smoking food is a terrible idea. But, for one, I don't think it's going to burn that long anyway. Cooking on a gasoline fire takes a lot of gasoline. You'd be surprised. Oh, that's the trees outside. I thought it was static in my headset. In a smartly done one, this would have actually been a variable, adjusted according to this, to make it more flexible. Oh my god, I need to stop talking about flexibility of code. Code flexibility. Admittedly, that's not cool. You could set yourself on fire with that, or your house. I'd prefer my house not be on fire, thank you very much. Also, you wouldn't really need it. You don't really need to have fire like that. You can just carry a little lighter or a matchbook. I know they'd run out, but I'm pretty sure you'd need some exotic foods to restore the minerals required for this. Probably isn't organic, as much as you think it is. Well, the idea is that because humans aren't as much of a killer animal with sharp claws, sharp teeth, fire breath, and horns, you know, we're not as immediately imposed to start fighting things. It makes us more implied to do diplomacy and not kill people for no fucking reason. Ironically, we also have wars. Ironically, monkeys also have wars, and they also rape things a lot. Raping and pillaging kind of is part of war. I mean, you can say what you want, but being a monster doesn't take horns. Although it kind of helps, because you can gore someone. Just whoop! My guts! They're all over the floor. I wanted to put them on the wall. That's my feng shui, you dumbass. And he just gets super mad. He just takes up his guts and throws them on the wall. And the guy who did it is like, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with this man? He jumps out the window because he doesn't know what to do anymore. Tip, if someone says that and actually starts throwing its guts on the wall, get out. That guy is not to be fucked with. Whatever he's going to do next, you're going to die, and it's going to be great. Gruesome. It's going to be great for anyone else who's around who's not going to get hurt, but for you it's going to be gruesome. Not to mention the fact, humans can make fire in a number of ways, from using flint and steels, to, well, we got tinderboxes, flint and steels, you've got lighters, you can use a bow and sort of friction things together. There's a lot of ways to make it. Like, you can say you want Anna, but it's easier to carry flint and steel and a bunch of tinders than it is to carry around. Like, how much fire breath does she have? How long does it take to recharge? There's logistics involved with that. You probably need to eat something special to actually, I think napalm is actually mostly organic compounds. I'm not going to look it up because I might get in trouble for looking up napalm, of all things, in the middle of a video. Because I'm not that kind of channel. Yeah, like, why does Anna want it? I mean, she doesn't really need it. She just does it for cool shits. And again, the game doesn't seem to know whether it wants you to repeat things or not. Like, do you repeat your options in the dialog box, or is the dialog box the answer itself? Also, the deadly weapon means there's escalation. Like, by definition, a human is allowed to pull a gun on a dragon because they can possibly spit fire. You know? Like, there's an immediate escalation of violence. Problems you probably didn't consider. Yeah, it's kind of the Rust rules. If everyone has a gun, you're less inclined to use it. But fire is a little different from a gun. Like, you can't cock a gun and point it at someone in your flame breath. Your flame breath's just going to fuck him up. And melt his clothes to his body. Don't wear nylon and get set on fire. It's going to melt. And you're going to melt. And you're going to be like, ow! It's melted to my skin! And then it's the super glue problem. You're boned. My dad warned me about super glue. He apparently once got his eyelid stuck. Jesus. Or someone did. So here's the thing. She sounds like they don't know that much about it. You think they'd have researched that a little more and made, I don't know, a flamethrower with it? Like they harvested from people? They forced them to discharge? Like, I don't know. It just, not enough thinking about it, you know? Oh, now we get CG Campfire. I keep forgetting there's no chapter 1. Oh, look, it's Anna. And there's not... Why is it so far in the background? No. She dragged the kill over, but it's all the way over there. Also, that fence is not that high. Like, that fence is what? Like, knee height at most? What? Like, those hay bales are either very small. Like, that's not that high. Like, everything is out of perspective. The house is huge. The hay bales are actually a lot bigger than that, usually. And the trees are tiny. And this thing is... What is the perspective here? Whew. Yeah, just look at this. She couldn't sit like that, by the way. She would have to contort a lot more than this. Because, again, her body is not made to bend in too many directions at once. Also, damn. She doesn't have thick thighs. She just has a thick underbody. Her butt is huge, but her butt doesn't exist. She doesn't have a butt. She has an underbody, a lower. Look at this. As I said, if this weighs a couple times as much and it's made out of metal, this whole part is going to be unbalanced. Like, you'd see dragons with, like, leads hanging from their tail to keep them in balance if they ever get mechanical upgrades. Or if they just make it lighter. Like, amputating an arm would have huge impacts and ramifications. And now she walks like this, but I'm pretty sure Anna walks a little bit differently here. Yeah. Here she's very flat-footed. But here, it's a lot more, she couldn't bend her knee like that, by the way. That's not how your bones work, Anna. Again, the inconsistencies in the artwork make it very hard to tell exactly what's going on with any of these characters. By the way, even if they're perfectly as dexterous as human hands, those claws create a certain bone structure in your fingers that makes them significantly less dexterous because there's a huge ball shape at the end, instead of a flat surface with resistance. Which, fun fact, is how human fingers work. She also couldn't scrape a coin. Well, she could with her claw, but she couldn't scrape a coin from your finger or from your hand. I like that trick, by the way. If you don't have long enough nails, you can't pull a coin off your hand because you can't, properly get a grip. Also, why are you using a branch? Shouldn't you charge? Like, this thing is just coming out of nowhere for one. Also, how does this not set a forest fire or anything? Like, nothing else is catching flame somehow. How? Also, why is there? Oh, it's a tree giving the impression that there's this fine mist of blood just floating around her. Also, how does that work? How does any of this blood work? You were with your mouth and your claws in there, but the way it looks, it's like you dragged your arms through it. Although she probably carried it. But if she carried it, she would have carried it to her chest, because her hands can't hold that much. Unless she, really fumbled around with it. This does imply a lot, that she's able to move her hand like that. She can twist her wrist clearly. That would give her a lot of dexterity. But still, there's some huge... another thing is sensitivity. Apparently humans can feel differences in width, very tiny amounts of them, by the way. I think it's we can tell the difference between, one layer of atoms or something like that. We're pretty good at this shit. Her hands are bony extensions at the end. She couldn't feel the sensitivity of how she uses her claws. So there's a degree of crudeness to it, which, again, is kind of monstrous. I think I'm going to have to turn down my whole bone in her, because I think she'd tear me apart completely by accident. Also, there's no offal here. I don't even know what kind of meat this is supposed to be. But that meat looks like it just came off her arm. Also, I know grass is hard to draw. Grass is a fucking nightmare. Ugh. But yeah, the perspective is kind of fucked here. Also, that thing has an outline that nothing else has. The house has it. The house looks very different. The artwork here is this, ooh. And then the fucking goat. The fucking goat, too. It's ugh. What's going on here? Anna! What's with the picture? And here she looks a bit different. Her muzzle looks a little different. Her face does. Ooh. Nobody likes it when line work doesn't work out. Oh. Yeah, that looks really gross. But, as someone who draws, you're going to make that mistake a lot. It's really hard to get that exactly right. And the best way to do it is just to make thicker lines. But I guess they couldn't afford it. They wanted to avoid looking too cartoony. Look at how bony her arms look in this one compared to the other one. Ugh. Ugh. It's so inconsistent that it makes it very hard to make judgments on anatomy. And there we go. Let's just say interesting. That qualifies as a response. Why don't you just throw some tinder on? Just break off a branch or something. Keep it going. I want mine well done. Also, because they're hanging, a lot of the meat is probably going to have the juices sinking down. I think that's how meat works. I imagine. That's how fluids work. I like how she even still offers. She's still like, come on. And they say no. I wish you could say yes at this point, but you can't. Game fucking says no. Also, why is it no food false? Shouldn't you do no food true and then... I just can't. My programmer senses are screaming at the faux pas, the faux passes being made here. Oh no, this thing that was just quite literally enveloped in flames is too hot. How stupid is the PC to just grab a piece of meat like that? It's ascribed as steamy. If something is exhuming steam, you probably shouldn't touch it with your bare hands. Like, the idiocy of the player character is just... woo. I have to change this a lot because can't take a little heat. It's not something you say in Dutch. It doesn't exist like that. Okay, Anna's just fine. Yeah, we're almost there. I'm not going this is the point where you say, Anna, would you stop working this hard? Also, chewing isn't something predators do, by the way. You chew when you're a herbivore or an omnivore. Meat eaters do not chew. They bite and they swallow. They have fangs, but not molars. They cannot chew. They cannot choose you, I'm afraid. Which is not what term of chew you're using. But yeah, Anna probably couldn't chew. The Flyers, maybe. Considering they eat fish. Although if they ate fish, they'd probably swallow them whole and they wouldn't have teeth to begin with. But yeah, there's a huge problem. Why? Like, if that came with the human, then why does she have fangs as much as she does? Wouldn't they be much more... Not to mention the fact that being able to chew requires a specific jaw structure that she probably doesn't have, considering her design. I decided to try this a little bit differently. Their scales make your hands like oven mitts. Because it kind of captures the idea. And I want to write the word mitts. Mittens! I like how Anna's like, I want to steal shit. Why don't you become a thief, Anna? You could mug someone with that ugly mug of yours. Wow, I like how Anna's like, ha ha ha, I ruined this man's life. Isn't that great? Maybe they're not even, like, raised for slaughter. They might just be a pet mouflon, and this guy's like, Jesus Christ, this is vendetta. And he buys a shotgun, and then Anna ends up smeared on some tree. And he's like, God damn, I finally got you. Bet you didn't see this coming, huh? Then humans are like, I told you we shouldn't have sold them guns. The guy broke his arm in, like, 5 places. How? Well, for one, he's not built to use guns, and secondly, he's an old man. Of course he broke his arm when he fired a heavy-gauge shotgun. What were you thinking? Even old humans can't use shotguns like that. Like, he literally just breaks his arm. How's the shotgun so strong? Like, it's an elephant gun. And Anna's head has just exploded. Can't eat now, can ya? How did this guy not notice and take security precautions? It's implied she's done this before. Wouldn't there be a criminal record about this? Like, a lot of mouflons are disappearing. By the way, they seem to be disappearing when this one person... like, I know it's not likely they'll find her quick, because it's kind of a leap of logic to make. But someone's animals going away would eventually require an inquiry of some sorts. You know, the cops are kind of required to. Anna, this isn't something you can keep up. doesn't he build? Like, why doesn't he take any precautions? Like, he's got the chance. I feel like a wild animal. Well, that's what you are. She doesn't take security properly because you could take the fucking letter out from under her door. It's also not implied that she has any additional security because you could mess with that door for a bunch. Like, the way you fiddle around with it should have triggered an alarm if she actually cared. If this was an RPG, I'd say, God damn, DM, that's not how traps are supposed to work. They should have triggered way before that. Except I'm not going to be that kind of DM. I don't want to be that kind of person. That's mean. Like, what about Damien? Wouldn't Damien just let me in? Man, that food cooled down fast. Also, like how the actual part you take doesn't matter. Whatever you're taking, organ meat or rump, it doesn't affect anything, which is kind of sad. Like, it would have been cool if you were like, man, this tastes like bile. Another thing you have to consider is you kind of fuck Bryce. Have to eat wild meat that probably might kill you. Like, there's a lot of stuff you have to do that people might not want to do to get the best ending. You have to kiss Remy. Ugh. That might not be something you want to do. Like, maybe you have objections to that. But you have to. Maybe you have to save Lorm. Maybe you have objections. Maybe you want to have fate take its course. I don't know. Oh, I love how this text breaks down. And here it works. Whoa, that's broken down hard, because it removed Allah. Ah, la Anna. I I think it says a lot that why does she go to fancy restaurants then? If she doesn't understand what spices are for, what the fuck is she doing at a fancy restaurant? Unless they just have like don't get better meat. Just learn how to cut your shit better. I don't know. It's just Anna's so weird. Such a mysterious, stupid character when you really think about it. Ah, my back. Actually, that felt really good. I mean, I don't like vegetables on my burger, but that doesn't mean I don't know why they're there. Does she even know? Do dragons even have that kind of palate? That's a question. If they don't, then a lot of chefs are going to be super miffed. I like how it's this one that's bad and this one that's good, which is very contrarian to what you'd expect. For no real reason, by the way. Like, Anna just reacts like an ass. Do they even have napkins? Like, cutlery is not that much of a thing for dragons. Like, the problem is, I feel like a wild animal, usually you'd say that because you don't like it. Like, so I'm going to imply that a bit better by putting really, like a really wild animal. Rawr. Rawr. Anyway, I'm stuffed. How could you be stuffed? You're a meat eater. Meat eaters gorge like fucking crazy. Most meat eaters will stuff their face. Like a lion is going to just shove that meat in there. Hob! As do snakes. I think snakes generally just like, I'm so full, I'm just going to spend a weekend lying down. Could you imagine a society made by snakes that eat like that? Like, I'm not going to be in work this day, boss. I gotta digest for a couple of weekends. And the lion's like, oh, I can't come. I just bought a big zebra, and it'll take a couple of days. And then I'll come to week 4 a couple of days. Why is it necessary? And again, like, what are you? Like, if you don't care, just buy microwave food or buy some meat and throw it in a pan. Like, you're going through a lot of steps with very little gain. I've already mentioned all my problems with her timetable, but fuck, Anna, what are you? Like, you're trying to live life, but at the same time you want to extend it? Like, what? What is your angle? You want to have your cake and eat it too, and you're somehow allowed to get away with it. You know what would have been a great character moment? Where Anna says, I don't have the time to do this as much as I want. You know? Like, she says straight here, I wish I could do this more often. But I can't. I just don't have the fucking time for it. My life is a mess. But none of that comes up. It's so annoying. Wait, what? Doesn't this come up earlier in the thing too? Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is okay. So this is if you haven't gotten them yet. She gives them to you. Okay. I thought it was like the other way around. But why does she care about being able to afford it? That's showing off, and she doesn't care. What are you? Why do you have so many character traits, none of which are consistent with each other? Like, there's a thing as being complex as a character, and there's being way more than 2 characters at once. Like, she has way too many facets, none of which are compatible. I like being in the wild. I like showing off in the socio-economical system, which I don't care about, by the way. I'm working way too hard to try and save my life, but I also find time to fuck off a bunch. I have this very strong rivalry with someone, but I don't really care. I take care of security, but this guy has been able to blackmail me despite that. What? You see here, it does that thing with that repeating, only partial. Huh. Like, I feel like Anna just has this. This side of her might exist, but considering her position, I feel that it would have been repressed. Like, she does this as like a joke, you know? And she's like, I really like this. Like, I've done this a couple of times before, but I just don't have the time for it. Like, that would have been a great character moment. Like, you're like, man, Anna's got this really sexy, weird side to her, but she's too busy with other stuff to live her life. But instead, she's living her life anyway. I don't feel sorry for a cancer patient if he's trying to cure cancer and still being able to live his fucking life, and he's also rich enough to go to fancy restaurants. Like, holy shit, you're better off than I am, and you're dying of cancer. It's kind of hard to feel bad for someone in that circumstance. It undermines her character to give her all that. Like, holy shit, she's practically a Mary Sue if people didn't hate her. Even then, people only hate her because she's a bitch. Like, she goes to the cafe, and so much wrong. So much wrong. Also, it's kind of implied that most natural predators are completely destroyed by the local dragon population, so I don't think any predator that's around here would need the help, Anna. Interestingly enough, you actually have the term biodegradable. We don't. Ain't that a hoot and a holler? I like how the last option is an abstract one. Like, these are all, like, things you say. And here it's talk about reason. God damn it. God fucking damn it. This date's a mess. Especially because Anna's, like, prissy, prancy princess habits aren't, like, visible in the last one. She's just a bitch. Interesting. Again. I like how she just has the test results with her. The weird thing is, the fact that you have to wait doesn't make as much sense when you think about the context of everything. You know. If we really think about the context, if you come at another day, no, I guess that still works. Like, it's implied she does this for this moment. Who knows? You know, I wonder if there's a timeline where Anna dies of cancer earlier and you never get to date her. Does that fuck up the timeline or what? Like, here's something to consider. You can die, and there's a timeline where you're dead before this all happens. Which means there's a timeline where Anna's already died of cancer, Adine's already died during the contest, Lorm's already died during the treasure hunt. I guess Remy might have committed suicide earlier, who knows? Bryce is probably fine anyway. But yeah, there's something to consider about that. Like, it's possible that in other endings, Anna lives longer. It's entirely possible that in one of them, she finds the cure for cancer and cures herself. Because the only time we know whether Anna dies or not as a result of her cancer is the good ending. And that's a couple of months from now. But that's the only one you can know for sure. In any other one, she could have lived and cured herself. Isn't that something interesting to consider? Like, she's just alive now. Because again, her death is from being murdered. Something to consider. Weird details. It makes her character very weird. Her character's such a mess to begin with. Oh, there's so much good about her. She probably wouldn't even, use any sex toys. Be like, I need sex toys. And they're like, oh, come on. I wanted a BDSM dominatrix. Ew. I'm not going to touch silicone. This stuff is all sticky. It is sticky. I got these silicone samples, and they're weird. Like, holy shit, this stuff is sticky. Ugh. 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 Why is it so sticky, though? Why would you want this? It's so sticky. It's like that awkward kind of sticky where it feels like it sticks to your fingers, but not really. Ugh. So there's something I want you to consider as well. In the time that you don't give her blood, what is it? Like, what was it? Who knows? Actually, I like doing the evil end first because that's the ending I care about. Also, I love how you have to get at least 2. Greater than 1 means you need to have 2 points or she doesn't care. My god, she's demanding. What is caloric? That's a word I've never used in that context. I know it's bad. Prickware. Oh, that's a good one. I like this. This is some good translations. Just nice, straightforward. I like how you actually are legitimately just trying to help and Anna's just being a cunt. There's really no other way around it. She's just being mean. By the way, Angels of Scaly Wings has gotten workshop support. What? I wonder if Cathorix is going to slop in there. Still, though. Fucking workshop support? Like, that's just Renpy. You don't need Angels and Scaly. I guess the setting, maybe, but it's such a weird thing to offer workshop support for. The guy just seems to be doing whatever the hell he feels like. It's not quite like Toby. Like, Toby is very hands-off with Undertale. Like, he apparently got involved with the advertisement, but he's very hands-off. Like, he doesn't care much about elaborating things and working on it. Whereas Saunders is like, well, let's have some fun. Which is fine. But again, I'm really glad Anna's date doesn't have large parts you'd rather skip. Unlike Lorem! Goddamn! I mean, you really were just trying to help. Oh, I need to find a good one. Yeah, I'm just going to use that. That's kind of harsh, calling it blasphemy. Holy shit. That's kind of harsh. God, how do I translate that? Maybe I can find a good synonym in the synonym book. Oh, these are all krachtterm. I like that word. Schutting word. That means fence word. And power word. Power word kill. Fuck ass. That's so cool. Power word. That's great. I know how to do this. I'm making it obvious. Why is she so angry, though? Like, you should spend time with her. She clearly wants you. She still needs you to come back for the tests. So her being angry at this point is kind of weird. She still needs you there for the tests. What? Like, such a weird setup. A truly mysterious Joko has just happened. I changed the context here a bit, but it's generally the same thing. Now our date's officially over, and now comes your part. Wink, wink, wink. Oh, of course. I think I know why. Like, here's the thing. If you get the bad end, she will fucking die. Which means it's entirely logical for Anna to, here's the thing. Okay, so if you go with the bad end, Anna says she'll call you about this, and then she dies. Like, she ignores your advice, but she still wants you coming back. Why isn't that there, then? Anna survives, true. Fun thing, Anna survives is not set to untrue, because her survival can also be determined by having a good ending. Don't forget that. I find it interesting that she forgets. You have to call her, which implies that Anna did forget. And that says a lot about her, in my opinion. That she just, nope. Not working as hard has just taken her mind off. Next time, who knows? I haven't decided yet. You can help me decide, but for now, I think it's best if we do someone that doesn't make me as angry. And I think that Adine kind of has a date that's not as aggravating, and just nice and calm. No science talk, no lore talk, none of that stupid banana bullshit. Just some nice character moments.